right, give it up for Charlie.
So I'll be going over drones and the cinematic uses. I'm Charlie. I'm in film. Yeah. So first I'll go over the history of drones. Then I'll go over how they can be used in cinematic purposes. Then I'll go over a freestyle drone that we have here, and then my final project at the very end. So the history of drones, starting in the 1910s, drones were originally used by the British in World War I, and they would use radio waves to control miniature aircrafts to attack their adversaries. And this was a game changer for them because they wouldn't have to, waste human power on flying certain things and risk their lives. And then developing all throughout the 20th century into the 1980s, the military across the world would continue to develop surveillance drones, and this was where cameras were beginning to be used on drones, and that's kind of why we've led to later on going into the 2010s, where the first civilian, non-military drones were being used, and DJI is kind of the big company that kind of innovated just drones generally. And someone thought of, hey, let's put a camera on a drone and let's use it for cinema, and so that's why kind of we have it today. And then moving on throughout, the 21st century until basically today. In the future, I think that it's going to be headed to great places, and I think you guys have seen it in all kinds of different movies. Now going on to how it can be used. So drones are super useful because there's so much flexibility when it comes to the different shots that you can get. I'll go into that in the next slide, but it's just like you can really get anything that you want with it, and it can be used for any purpose. And the awesome thing about drones is it's relatively cost effective compared to other things. So like for to get a really high quality shot, all you really need is like a $3,000 drone, and it's super high quality, almost as high quality as a Hollywood stunt that they would use a helicopter or a crane for. So it's very cost effective, and it also reduces the safety risk because you don't have to use all of these crazy stunt maneuvers and all of that. You can just use this drone. So it's a lot safer. So these are the shots that you can be using if you're doing drones. So over here, this is kind of all of these specific shots that you kind of need a drone for, or very special equipment. And then over here, this is where you can also use a drone to get these shots, but you can also use a normal camera. So obviously there are tons more of shots that you can use with a drone, but there's so much variability. And then up here I wrote, and the opportunities are really endless because as long as it can fly somewhere and there's enough light, you can video it. All right, so when I was delving into my research, I interviewed Micah Bella. So he's a professional cinematographer. He's right here flying this drone. And the main thing that he wanted to bring across to me was that you don't want to overuse the drone. You want to use it in very specific places and not for every single shot, because he thinks that in the film industry it's getting overused in certain places, and that if we keep overusing it, it's just going to become like tiresome. And so that was the main thing. Another thing that he wanted to point out is that although the aerial shot is what you think of when you think of a drone shot, you can also get tons of stuff that are below 300 feet, below 50 feet, and they still look amazing. So like, for example, if you need a shot in like a cave or something, you can fly through that cave, which you wouldn't really be able to do with other certain cameras. Same would go for like if you're filming a surfer or something, because you could use a helicopter. It's kind of risky because it's so close to the water, but a drone, you can really get an awesome surfing shot, and that's pretty low down. And then something else, one quote that right here that he said to me, you as a high school student have the capability of getting the same shot as a $50,000 helicopter. And that really resonated with me because sort of like AI in the future, it's kind of leveling the playing field for these large Hollywood corporations and these smaller production teams and high schoolers, obviously. So it's really like one of those things where it's really opening up a lot of doors for like people like you and me. So moving on to Freestyle's drone. So here at Freestyle, we have a Mavic 3 Pro, which is right here with a little name right there. And this is a really awesome drone. Through all the research I've done, like this is like the main one, the main high quality one being used by filmmakers all around, and it's just honestly like it's super awesome. So it does say that there's a maximum flight time of 43 minutes on the website. website. However, I think that's more of hovering time, not using cameras, not using, moving it around and stuff. So I think it honestly is more like 20 to 30 minutes, which is per battery, which is kind of shorter than they say on there. It says the maximum speed is 21 meters per second, and so that's actually really quick. You can get some really cool shots with that. And then the distance, the transmission distance, is about from 1.5 kilometers to 15 kilometers, depending on where you are, if it's in an open area or not, if there's obstruction. So it can actually go a pretty long ways. And yesterday when I was doing my final shots, I was able to get it up to 500 meters, and that's where it caps out. Even though in the settings it says you can go higher, I think they don't want you entering airspace and hitting stuff. Moving on to the camera here. So there's actually, I think, 9 cameras on the drone, but only these 3 are really usable if you want to take videos. So the other 6 are for sensors to not hit certain things and protect the drone. So the first camera is a Hasselblad camera, and this is replicating a 24 millimeter. So it's pretty wide lens. It's definitely the highest quality when you're trying to get some nice shots. Moving on to the second camera, this is the medium telecamera. This is replicating a 70 millimeter lens, and this is kind of 3 to 7 times this normal lens. And then moving on to the third one, which is the telecamera, this is the most zoomed in, replicating about 166 millimeter camera. And you can get up to 28 times, which is pretty incredible. I have some photos there where it's like super zoomed in that you'll see later. And then the ISO is about, depending on what mode you're in, it can go from 100 to 12,800. So there's definitely a lot of variability. And then the gimbal. So I think the reason that all the shots look so good on this drone is because the gimbal makes it so sturdy, and it allows for all these cool things like a tilt, roll, pan, and it never shakes. In all the videos, you never see any shaking because this gimbal auto adjusts, which is pretty cool. And then here's the remote control. This controls everything from moving around, going up, going down, rotation, changing aperture, ISO, all of that you're doing on this little remote control. And then there's 3 different modes. You can see right here, there's an S, an N, and a C. So the S is a sport mode. This is the quickest, most responsive, and it doesn't have this certain feature where on the other 2, if you're going to run into something, it'll stop it or move around it. So that's why it makes it the most risky, but it's if you need like something fast, then you would definitely want to be in the S mode. So here's my final project. Here's a couple cool shots that I have. Yeah. pictures that I got. So this is the Mountain View in Mountain View High School. This is my house. This is downtown Los Altos. This is the Mountain View campus in Freestyles right there. This is Los Altos that I got from one of the mountains. This was with the 28 times lens. And this was just a cool shot that I liked. So what I would do next time. So the main thing is that I would try and invest in a good SD card because the SD cards that I personally had, they were micro SD cards and they were not capable of getting the 4K and 1080p video from the drone in live action for more than 5 or 10 seconds. And so I'd use the internal storage, which had about 8 gigabytes. When you're filming in these high amounts of quality, it's really not that much. It maybe has, I don't know, 5 minutes of video. So that would be the main thing, and it was a pain to try and transfer from I had to download from the app to my phone, and then from my phone upload to Google Drive, and then download it. It was a whole process, which would have been easier with the SD card. And then probably just getting more batteries because, like I said before, it's about 20 to 30 minutes with flying, depending on what you're doing. So it's not too long, but it's definitely enough to get stuff. So yeah, that's everything. Any questions?
I just want to say, especially that shot where like you're like looking up at the trees and you're going down. That felt so real. Like I was actually there. That was so cool.
Yeah.
And also, what was the like location at the beginning? Like I just saw like this vast expanse of like trees.
Yeah. I had like 3 locations I went to. The first one, it's called Montebello Road. So you kind of have to drive up about 30 minutes, but you get a pretty cool shot, especially on a clear day, of the whole Bay Area.
It was the most like unanticipated challenge of the whole thing.
That's a good question. I think probably just the SD card. Probably the SD card because it was a whole process. When I was uploading, it took like 5 hours, it felt way too long. And I was videoing in 4K actually, but when it was transferring it turned into 1080p, which is still good, but I wish I'd gone 4K.
Do you ever try to like I know a lot of the shots here are more slow. Do you ever try to do like more zoom in shots? I remember seeing one where you like went under the bridge as well.
Yeah,